All right, so to kick us off here, perfect time. Market just opened. So it's 9:30, everybody. So first thing we're going to look at, as you can see on screen, we've got electronic trading hours turned on. So I'm seeing an overnight VWAP. Everybody knows the market rallied really hard yesterday. So who's anticipating a pullback at market open? Who's thinking we move lower here? Can I get a bias? Lower? Can I get a bias for higher? Louder, louder. Okay. Yep, you need me on, Chris? I can go on. Okay. Beautiful. Boys, what are you looking at here? Zach, go ahead.
You're good. See, mic sound? Nice. First off, super excited to be here, guys. Really hyped. You guys are all awesome. Very excited to be here, sharing this room with great traders up here in the back, but also all of you. I've seen some of your work. Solid stuff. I'm trying to catch up myself. I'm looking at this to pull back and then potentially run higher. On Bookmap, we got quite a bit of liquidity up to the 5700s. Right now, very bullish move out of that wild pullback and then run up yesterday. We're opening up above prior day high. We've been cracking overnight low, really just continuing up above VWAP up until right now. Opening up to the downside, I'm watching for a test maybe around that prior day high level. I have that marked on ES as actually the MAS chart that I'm on, 56.2875. Not going to jump into anything right off the bat. I'm not a big fan of getting involved in the first 15 minutes. I do it from time to time, but it's volatile. It's just a wild market to jump right into. U.S. indices are crazy off the open. So I like to sit patient, kind of just give myself a couple deep breaths, analyze, create some if-then statements, figure out how I want to structure risk, create some narrative for the morning, and then start to go from there. But right now, I'm watching this continue to sell off. I'd like to see a test around that prior day high level, 56.28 3/4. I'm going to watch down there. There's also quite a bit of liquidity on the book, about 100 lots on the book there. Want to see what happens down there, potentially look long back towards VWAP. But again, as Randy said, I'm with him. I could see the 5700s. Conversely, if we just start to really sell off from here, we could see a pretty wild pullback. Last note here, as I'm going to wrap it up, NFP Friday tomorrow. We do have some news today at 10 a.m. Oftentimes, it's a tricky day to trade. With large red folder news coming the next day, the prior day, oftentimes the market just consolidates, kind of chops around. We get some indecision, some anticipation ahead of that news. I don't like to carry a super strong bias and say, I think we're just going to chop, or I think we're going to trend all day because there's news or there's no news tomorrow. But I make myself aware of those things, right? I find that in my trading, right before NFP Friday, oftentimes there's a lot of chop, a lot of consolidation. I find at 8:30 a.m. for NFP Friday, there's a big candle, right? A big news candle. So you can be aware of these things without letting it completely derail your trading for the day. So that's my thoughts going into the morning.
I like it. A good resource on screen, forexfactory.com, for like a schedule of the day, very easy. I also like Financial Juice, which we'll keep open. Financial Juice is like a constant news feed. Like here we have something even right there. White House advisor Miller does not commit to tax relief for small businesses. So you'll see there'll be news that, like here, U.S. Chamber of Commerce asked Trump for tariff exclusions to stave off a recession, according to CNBC. And it looks like the jobless claims this morning, actual 241,000. That's what sent the dollar index lower. And looks like SPX a little lower, but it rebounded pretty well. So, Ev.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone, first of all. But I think it's similar to what Zach was saying. I really don't like to trade around that opening range setting because I could have a bias coming into the morning and then how this first 15 minutes shakes out, I'm on the complete opposite end. And I think it's okay to be flexible with your bias and just read and react. The first 15 minutes is going to tell a lot of what we might want to do in the next hour, or it could just be false information, if you want to call it that. And we do, in fact, come higher in the next hour and a half or so. But during these first couple minutes, I mean, there should be no FOMO because it's not as volatile as I've normally seen. But we have all day to find trades on any given day. This is not where I look back in the morning, oh, my best trades every day were at 9:45. What was I doing? No, they're normally at 11 o'clock, 10:30. So whatever happens here is just giving me enough information to take a better setup in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So seeing that we're just having all sellers so far, again, it's only been 6 minutes, but it's all sellers here since the open. If you've seen any of the streams, all the VWAP plays, we're going to have to get above that New York VWAP from that 9:30 open in order to find any type of long. Austin's probably the type of guy that would trade it mid-open more than me, just because he likes to chase the price sometimes, but he does it really well.
Jab.
I do not do it as well. Where I like
Jab.
I mean, you're doing it well, so it's not too bad of a jab. He does it really
Thanks.
well of trading mid-range from bottom to top, and then I'll just catch the next move following that. But yeah, I think here, pretty much sideways, right back where we started at 9:30.
So, has anyone gotten into a position yet? Cool. As we're going through this live trading session, everybody, and we're leading, we want you to feel like, get up. Don't sit here and wait, 20 minutes go by. All right, got to take a trade now. Get up. Talk to each other. While we're talking, feel free to communicate amongst yourselves. The other boys are in the back. They're going to lead the trading session tomorrow. So today is us kind of guiding, but we want you to communicate. This is not meant to be silent study hall, okay? So if you have questions or you want to talk to each other, don't feel bad. We will not be offended. That's why we got the microphones. But right there on that candle, we took New York VWAP and overnight VWAP right there at 44. So Bookmap this morning, as you can see, we're going to do a lot of Bookmap later today. Bookmap is pretty flat. Zach, do you see the same thing? Like, I don't see anything hot at all.
Yeah, not until we get up towards that 5,700. There's, I'd say, a few evenly stacked 100-lot orders above, looking at like the 5670s, 75s, 80s as we start to push to the upside. To the downside, I'm looking at that 5630 level, again, right around that prior day high. Not a whole ton, though. Nothing crazy, right? No 500 lot, 1,000 lot on the book like we've been seeing.
Kind of thin.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind to see. We didn't quite get that test of prior day high. That would have looked pretty solid if we swept down below, maybe into like the 25s, a nice aggressive sweep, and then we saw buyers step right back in. That might be an instance where I do look to get involved pretty quickly before the first 15 minutes, because I do think we can run the high here and head up towards 5,700. But for right now, like Evan said, right back at VWAP, kind of flat, somewhat choppy. Holding that bullish structure, and again, if we start to push from here towards that overnight high level, 56.62.5, it could look like one of those longs off the rip, and we've seen some of that. I like to stay patient. I like to say I'll miss that initial long and maybe miss some of that move because I often I get chopped, right? And I'm not as good as Austin as well as jumping right in there in the first 5 minutes of the open.
You say this because I won the last two, but there's like 87 of them that I've lost. I mean, if I would have jumped in long here on that break of New York VWAP and overnight VWAP, you're already in drawdown. So even more reason of why the three of us are kind of similar. That's why I have us leading the session together here. This keeps it so you can see there's no rush. Like, yeah, you got a decent sized candle here and here. Let the market settle. This whole range, the black lines here, top and bottom, that's your opening range. That's your 930 candle. This is only 20 points, correct? Not even. Are we at 20 points yet? Yeah, about 20.
Yeah, right at 20.
Okay.
Right at 20 on the dot. But yeah, to go off that, there's no wrong way to do it, right? So if you trade momentum really well off the open and that's your strong suit, do your thing. If you find that reviewing your data, like Austin was talking about earlier, you're finding an outsized number of losses, quantity of losses, size of losses in the first 5 to 10 minutes, you probably want to trust that data, sit patient, let the market open up, do its thing, and then come in. There's all day to trade. And I was notorious for that really early on, especially coming over to the futures market. Wanted to just make progress right off the bat. You get volatility that jumps in. You get that FOMO. You want to jump in and start moving. You have all dang day to trade. Maybe you don't want to sit here all day, maybe first couple hours, but you don't have to ruin your P&L in the first 5 minutes if you find you get chopped. Again, no wrong way to do it. Some guys are fantastic at trading the first 1 minute, 3 minute opening range. They're going to take a breakout to the upside or downside, but trust your data on this. And for me, unless I get a really clean move, which, as I was describing on another day, maybe an aggressive sweep of sellers down below that 56.25 level, take out all liquidity to the downside, and then a big push back up, confirmation closing above VWAP, maybe then I'm jumping in long because I'm carrying some of that anticipation of a move to the upside based on trend. Outside of that, back at VWAP, I'm going to sit tight for right now.
You could see something's going on here. It looks like there's orders above. They're coming off. Now they're starting to stack below. So it looks like 60.30 at the bottom is a level, which is right near opening range low. They were just putting some orders on here at 56.50, but they are not filling. I just don't see how we could really be long here going into that overnight VWAP with lower highs in play. I feel like longs would be 56.44, 56.45 here, like up into that area as we move higher. Because now, look at the open. Sellers take control. Buyers tried to regain control, and sellers are now back in the driver's seat. And now look, it's getting thick right here at 56.30, that dark red right there. And look at underneath, 56.20, and at 56.65 right there. Look, 248 contracts. Can you see my green pointer, everybody? So that just came on all at the same time. There, and there. That's where those orders. Now look at how dark it is right here, I think these 30s are going to get gobbled up in a second. It looks like that. They're either going to get taken or this will be solid support that we can use to trade long from. So now we'll watch and see at 56.36, how does it fill 56.30, 56.32? If it fills it. I'm going to say right now it's telling us it wants to because we're under VWAP. You wouldn't start to think that this is support until this starts to get above VWAP. When we start to move away from the block, taking out key VWAPs, then that starts to become support. Otherwise, with nothing else above especially, my gut says this gets taken. My experience in Bookmap says the 30s get taken before we go all the way back up to 50. Which would mean, like right now, the trade idea I'd have is a short here with a stop probably here. But again, we're not in a rush. We still got 3 minutes until opening range is set. You can control my computer, Ev. Yep. So Evan's looking at electronic trading. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is on the 15-minute. Can everyone see that faint dotted line? That's the overnight VWAP. That on the take of New York VWAP on the 1 minute, that was a pin to the downside, and then buyers step back in. We're holding the overnight VWAP. If you've seen anything that I've traded, that's where I do want to buy it. If we're going to hold bullish, that's the best price in my opinion. Same thing how it holds it here pre-market. But it's 5 minutes into the open. It was 1 bar above New York. There is no wick to the downside anymore on the 15-minute. Sellers took it right back. So now it looks like my thesis doesn't even make sense, like it never happened. Another thing I look at is on the take of that, we can go back to the 1 minute here. This is on ES. Do you have NQ here?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You go to NQ, since it's open, it's been nothing but sellers, not above its New York. So how can I believe that ES is going to carry higher when NQ is showing nothing but bears? No. So I like to see them maybe both get an agreement, both get above their New York VWAP, or both below it. So I could see that there's some agreement between the two assets before I just jump in that direction.
Let's see if it'll take these 30s. You see it. It's knocking on it, right, everybody? You see it. Boom. Boom. Let's see here. But you can see these green volume balls, too. That's telling us there's buyers trying to defend it. There's bids stepping in there.
Yeah, the way that I use Bookmap, we're going to talk a little bit more about it in the next session. Very simple pattern recognition. If we have a decent stack of orders above or below price, like Austin's anticipating right here, I would see that as potentially being filled. As we get here, right, these are resting buy orders on the book. We have potential of one of two things. They hold as support. Those are aggressive buyers that step in, and we find some support there, start to move to the upside. If your thesis is long for the day, you really don't want to be waiting. That could be a solid, aggressive entry spot, like Evan has been describing. We really don't have a strong open here. It's been nothing but sellers, so it is aggressive, right? But it could be a solid price if you are anticipating a move to the upside of 50, 100 points, and you want to start trying that, right? Maybe you don't go in heavy on the risk. Starting to move away from it right now, but that could be an aggressive spot.
It's also thinning out. See, everybody? So as we started to move away here, right there, look at how it's getting lighter. The red, yellow turns into blue. That means those orders that were there are now pulling off. Whether they are bids to be filled as far as a entry, or if they are take profits. It can be either. We don't know. Does that make sense? Questions about Bookmap right now? Yeah. Great question. I'm going to show you in the next session, but I have it resetting at 9:30. I was taught you reset the delta at 9:30 at market open every day, just to get rid of all the pre-market stuff that's way lower volume. You want to know from 9:30 when all that volume comes in, who's actually in control. So, Ev, could you zoom out on Bookmap for us just to 9:30 so we can see 9:30? So this is why I think you can look at them together. Here's 9:35. That's fine, Ev. Yeah, perfect. Right? Look at the direction delta has been moving, everybody. Right? So when we were looking at this block to either fill for sells or act as support, what's delta telling us it probably does? An acts as support. Exactly. Does everyone follow that, or you want me to say it again? I want to make sure everybody gets this, because this is a real-time example, so it's important. Does everybody follow, or you want again? One more time. We were looking at this block right here at 56.30 to see if it is filled. It clearly is not. It is now being used as support to go probably grab these orders up here. So when you're looking at this block and there's no orders above you, these balls, that line, that's current price. When there's no orders here and you see this and you're like, okay, I think that might fill, look at the delta. With delta rising like that, that tells us that that probably doesn't want to fill on sellers because the buying volume is stronger than the selling volume. So it's probably, if you looked at the delta, you would say that probably acts as support. So you could then think, okay, now if I long the break of the New York VWAP, I got support down here at 30. So I'm long at 41 with a stop at 30. That would be the idea, and I'm trading up to 50. And it's easy numbers today with these 20-point ranges. It's really easy to look at like 10-point blocks. And then, like Zach said, look at the orders at 60, 62, 65, and 70. They are now hot, super hot, 250 contracts. That may pull us. Let's see how it reacts to 60-50 first. Here's 46. And everybody gets what I'm saying, prices, right? You're following me? I know some of you are a little new. We're looking at prices. Why? Because like Brian Shannon says, price pays, nothing else. Okay? Who's in a trade? Come on. Win? Nice. Nice. A little naked without it. Good. First W. We love it. Randy, you in a trade? Okay. I think we'll watch these 50s here and then maybe 62. 50s right at opening range high. Can we look at a daily chart, Ev? Just something to zoom out and look at here. You can erase all that. You can erase all drawings. So this was the Trump candle. We've now clawed our way out of this. I'm very cautious to be bullish here because we know this could easily be some type of lower high in this downtrend, right? How do you think that impacts the intraday bias? I want to talk about it for a minute here. Does anyone have any thoughts about like how to use the daily time frame as a day trader? Fair idea. Take us to the 1 minute, please. Fair idea. What else? That's why I like you. That's the right answer. The daily time frame doesn't really need to be used for day trading. This, when we look at the daily stuff, it's like speculative. Brian Shannon calls it cocktail talk. Oh, Anthony, you think the market's up. Scott, you think the market's down. Where are we going to go? Fed cuts rates, blah, blah, blah. No one really cares when we're day trading. It really doesn't matter. To that point, Ev, could you switch us from the ETH to the RTH? So here's another little tip, everybody. I'm going to switch us to regular trading hours, bottom right here. Now, we can see the range much more clearly, right? Let's play this back. Who here has seen Futures 101 and Futures 2.0? Oh, beautiful. So for a mid-range trade, let's say we bought this big candle here. Ev, you want to mark that for me? Let's say we buy there. Where would the stop go on that trade? Does anyone know? Bottom of range. Are we out of that trade or in that trade? We're still in it. Yep. So I just want you to... Oh, my God. Evan is freaking out, dude. Oh, my God. You okay? I didn't put on my handicap settings for you. I'm sorry. So this is still a valid long. When you read the market, right, for the day, this is the valid long. Could this be considered an entry? It's at 56.40, especially as we start to see us move away on Bookmap, especially as we start to see Delta rising. Absolutely. Huh? Yeah. Absolutely. So longs are still in control here. Longs are still in play. Big takes of the VWAP, like this half of the size of the range, when a VWAP is taken with a strong candle like that, it tells me a lot. Absolutely. Yeah. Even here to this point, now we're going out of the range. We just broke the top of the opening range. Now I'm looking at this thinking, I'm not a great trader out the top of the range. So now I'm like, it needs to give me a pullback and a turn. Yep. Yep. So now I'm looking for the same thing. Some guys like you, Thomas, might do this where they'll put an anchor and they'll trade this as it goes higher. I'm looking for this VWAP to get up. I need this New York VWAP higher, and I need this to come out and retest it. What I'll look for is something like this, where it comes through or stops on it and turns. As soon as this turns off the next New York VWAP, I'm going to probably be long. One thing more I'll say, and this is going to sound contradictory, but that's fine, because life is sometimes contradictory. On the daily time frame, I just said how we'll run into key VWAPs and we might move lower, right? Does that mean we couldn't have 2 or 3 more days higher to lull everyone to sleep and make them think the bear market is over? Absolutely, right? Where are some of the biggest bull rallies happening? Bear markets. So when we're moving higher, chugging off of the bottom, maybe tariffs are being paused, you don't think we're one headline away from another 2% down day? Come on. We're right here. So you can't get lulled to sleep. So to this bigger point of daily time frame or not, coming out of this conversation, who's going to use the daily time frame a little bit less than maybe they were for their day trading? A little less? Who's going to maybe get away from even the 4 hour and the 1 hour a little bit? Which is foreign to some of you that used to trade foreign exchange because that's all we used to look at. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're dirty day traders, right, Nick? Dirty scalpers. That's how we make our money. Okay. Can you pull Bookmap back up for me, buddy? You guys got anything? Don't let me just talk. Oh, it's hot. Look at that. Look at above it. And look, you can see where they came on. It is so hot there. You know we're going to 65.
Yeah, I'm still looking at this thing long. I think a break above like this, retest of VWAP, even without that nice sweep down below prior day high that I was looking at in the morning, would be really solid. One thing that's keeping me patient. Now, again, getting close to 10 a.m., we have red folder news. It's not a massive one, but we have 10 a.m.
Have it pull us back.
Yep. ISM manufacturing PMI. So that's coming.
Start wishing for bearish news.
Yeah, 6.5 minutes. Like maybe then, we could blast off right from there, right? That could come in bullish, and that's the move. We pull back a little bit at the open, and we take right off. I don't love to trade directly into a red folder news event, especially coming off the 1 minute chart. I'd love to see a pullback down, sellers fail, and then buyers start to take it higher. I'd be in long pretty quickly after that news. On another day where we don't have this coming up in 5 minutes, I'm likely long after a retest and some pause, some hold around VWAP. Again, just anticipating the upside on Bookmap, looking good. Was watching that, coming into the open. I believe we could head towards the 5,700s.
Here we come. Let's come back a little bit now. How long till news? 7 minutes? 6 minutes? Okay. Good thought, Zach. Can we get a stretch on Bookmap, Ev? Can you stretch us out a little bit, just see if there's anything else above or below? Oh, there she is. 5,700. Who called? You said that earlier. Yep, there it is. 447 contracts. Yep. We're going to do a lot with Bookmap today, everybody. Today is really Bookmap heavy. So we're going to move actually out of the live trading at like 11 o'clock into some other Bookmap stuff. So it's good to be really focused on this. Also because the guys that are leading the session tomorrow are not going to do as much, right? Boys in the back, not as much. Cool. Questions? Thoughts? Come on. Yeah. Good question. Does everybody hear what he said, or you want me to repeat it? Could you hear what he said? Yeah, kind of? Doing something else? I'm looking at you, Lawrence. So Nick said, when you see a big chunk of orders, like that one up at 5,700, we're going to get into this in the next session too. When that comes on the book, you are wondering, are we going to go to it? Does it want to fill? Is it a wall? Spoofing is a real thing. Has anyone ever heard that term before? It's like a stock trading term, right? Back in the day, this guy Raj Ranahaman, I can't say his last name, this Indian dude got busted and went to jail for insider trading and spoofing. What he basically was doing, what a lot of these people do, is they'll throw orders into the live market to fool all of us to seeing it, and then they'll pull those orders away, and then they never get filled. So you have to watch to see if the orders are going to get spoofed or not. Ev, can you do me a favor and zoom in at 5,700 and show the COB? While we're watching this pullback. So stretch it up and then zoom in at the top. Yep, now drag us up. Nope, scroll the other way. Yep, and now go all the way up to 5,700. Yep. So watch this. You'll see, yeah, it's perfect. Right here, let me use the clicker. You can stretch it even fatter, Ev. Right there. Okay, now go to 50. Yeah, right there. Okay, so you see how it's dark here? Dark here. There's no orders as much there, 8, 9, 66. This 447. Everyone that's looking at this, you see that white line? That tells me that of the 447 contracts currently sitting on this book, on this price at 98, Basically, 95% of it is one algorithm or one guy. What that little white line is doing is it's giving us a signal as to how much of this block is controlled by one entity. What would that potentially lead to, Anthony? If he decides or that algo decides to pull that off, that block disappears and it goes dark. We don't even see it anymore. So Bookmap's super helpful, like you were saying too. I know that you use it a little different, Nick. Bookmap's super helpful so I can say, okay, that number 5698, that could be a spoof. I can't really trade to it because it could get pulled. And if it gets pulled, then where am I trading to? I could be going the wrong way. So I'm cautious to know if it's a wall or not based on this little white line. Literally, Nick. Yeah. Really? You've been a part of that? I won't tell on you. No, I know. It's real. 100%, because you can fool people. Yeah. But it's very hard in futures to bust people. No, I wasn't spoofing. My algo should have filled, but then this thing happened, and that's why the algo pulled it off. That's what you can say for the spoofing and get out of it. So they don't even go after it. When I interviewed, who watched my interview with Scott Pulcini? Did anybody see that one with the Bookmap Wizard? It's not that, right, see, not that popular. Everybody should watch that episode. Nobody does Bookmap like Scott, right, Nick? Nobody. And Scott said to me in the episode, he goes, this tool is like the CME giving us, as retail traders, a bone. Give us something. This allows us to see in a centralized market what's on the book. Now, there's a whole nother layer to this that we're not going to go into, which is icebergs, bigger orders being hidden. Nick's the expert. Talk to Nick in the Titleist hat if you want to talk about that. Oh, yeah, see, this is why we didn't just buy it on the VWAP. But to your point, Anthony, it happens. So, Nick, I'll avoid those spoofed levels.
Got about a minute and a half to red folder news. Just going to
Great.
throw that out
Ev,
there.
you can reset the book. Thanks, Zach. Yeah, so another great point here. We would never just buy the VWAP retest, right? If you're listening really actively this morning, I said we would buy the turn or the break back through. Did this turn on the VWAP? Come on, did it turn on the VWAP? No, it cut right through. So let's see what we do on the news. Now look at how dark this is above us here. So it's telling me 35 and then 30. Next. 60 seconds until the news here. That's a strong breakthrough VWAP. So what's the size of the opening range today? 30 points, 20 points? Small. So to make a comment about position sizing, for some of you that are like, how do I know what size to trade? Bigger opening range, smaller size. Smaller opening range, less volatility. You normally can throw more contracts and put a little more size on. Follow me on that? Okay. Let's watch and see here. 30 seconds. You'll see it shake. You see it ate those 35s, right? What color volume ball did it take them with? Red. So where's this probably going? 30. Stretch us lower for us, Ev. And click that. Click this thing, please. Press the play button. It'll keep it moving automatically. Evan doesn't like Bookmap anymore.
I just want to point out that his computer settings are inverse to mine. His mouse pad is weird.
Now look at the Bookmap. Look at that. Look at that spread. Look at that. Now it's caught up. There it is. Now, while we watch this shake, do you see how valuable Bookmap can be? Why do you think it goes dark, everybody? This is really important. Why do you think it's dark? Why is Bookmap dark when news comes in? Because they don't want to get caught on the wrong side of news. A lot of these algos are programmed to remove all orders before the news comes in so they don't get stuck. If you look at the difference, Ev, can you zoom in right here at 10 o'clock? Look at the spread between the red and green lines. And zoom in on the mouse with two fingers. Yeah, the other way. Look at that spread. You can see the line. The red is the bid, the red is the ask, the greens are the bid. Huge spread for a second there. So algos pull their orders off the book. So if you're randomly trading with Bookmap open and the book goes dark, chances are you didn't read the news that day, or news is about to come that you didn't know about. So when the Bookmap goes dark, we get a little cautious. We go, pay attention. Something's going to shake. It's going to shake. Now, if we come back through VWAP at 44, who's taking along with a stop at 32 at the bottom of the news shaking? Nobody? Good. Can you stretch us a little, Ev, now? Just so we can see if there's any orders above or below. Still above. Okay. Interesting. So someone asks, Austin, if there's orders above but we're moving lower, what do you do? Right? That's a fair question. Orders above, what do we do? You zoom in. Get rid of those 62, get rid of the 5,700. It's too hot. It's distracting me from what's actually going on in this 10-point, 20-point range. Follow me on that? So Ev, can you slide us up now along that axis so the 62 is gone? Keep going, right there, stop. Now I can see what's going on right here. You saw that? So you got to learn how to use the tool. So here, 50 maybe? 5650 stands out to me. This kind of looks like algos almost, just not too heavy. 50, 47, 50. Anybody in a trade? Anybody? Yeah, he's moving. Isaac, I saw Tanner. What are you doing in the back? I saw you dapping up. So when I say who's in a trade, the guy that's going to lead the session can't admit he's in the trade. You know I'm going to roast you now. You should have gotten up and been like, I'm in the trade. What did you do? Tell us what you did. Right before the news. 2 minutes before the news. Yeah. Can you pull up YM for us, Ev, so we can see, because I know, NQ, which has been more bearish, so it's good that you're short that. Yeah, so like that, you had more time to get short here before the news hits. Way less shaking here, too, on NQ.
Another thing I just want to point out on, I mean, this is NQ. What has the New York VWAP been doing since the open? It's just waving up and down, hasn't really given us any clear indication of who wants to be in control and stay in control today. It's the same thing as we're still inside the opening range. It's only been 30 minutes into the day, but if it's 45 minutes, an hour into the day, and we're in this range, I've really been complaining about it on stream lately of I don't want to touch it because we shouldn't be in this range if we're going to be nice and trending today.
Yeah, this is choppy overall, but I'm gonna call it that I'm getting long. Long from 56.39 3/4. Stop below session lows 56.25 3/4. It's about half risk for me, so I'm a little bit dynamic with risk management. If I'm gonna take something somewhat early, like Evan just said, right at VWAP, where we're kind of just chopping, right? We don't have a ton of direction, but I have a level tested right at 56. Yeah, hang on one second, guys. I'll plug this in so you can take a look.
Okay. Here it is. I said a few minutes ago, right? Who's going to be long at 44 if we come back through? Is anyone taking this long here? Zach is it.
Ground, hang on one second, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. No. Yeah, hang out. Well, while we're looking at my background, my wallpaper here, thought process. I was watching that same level, prior day high, to be tested. We swept below it super aggressively on the news, and we had buyers step right back in. We are pushing back up through VWAP. We have a whole bunch of orders up above. There's still some on Bookmap down at the 56.20s. That could be a problem for me. Again, low risk on this one. Nothing crazy for me. I'm okay, upwards of $1,000 per trade, $1,500 per trade.
I like it.
Accounts. So, yeah, I'm running this towards overnight high, potentially higher. These are in the top 1 futures, 150K accounts, so there's a consistency rule. It's not something that I'm going to run, all day to the moon, but I like it. I like it long. Sue me.
On Bookmap, 5650's hot, 5660, and 62.
And
so
if you guys have, sorry, Austin, if you guys have questions on the trade, the thought process, the risk structure, the trade management, sorry to cut you off, Austin. Trade management, I usually don't run a fixed take profit. I run a fixed risk, obviously, every time. I'm a little bit dynamic. I want to watch Bookmap. I want to watch key levels, but I don't want to cut myself off if the trade starts to pop really quickly. So as it is right now. So we're going to see if we can run this next level. I'm looking at the
65. 65.
Yeah.
Can I get a 65?
Yeah, I'm looking at the the 56.55s first,
Yep.
and then through right towards 65s. That would be pretty sweet.
Yep.
Yep.
Who else is long? Yell.
I do. So on the, I'll kind of stand as I do this, right? On the right-hand side, I've got visible range volume profile. It's actually not resetting. Yeah, guys, I'm going to throw a fixed take profit in here since I'm going to talk. I'm going to look at the 60s. I'm going to go right below the 60s for this one. We've got some liquidity on the book there. So to talk about volume profile, that's a visible range volume profile. I'll show you guys settings in a minute. Horizontally displayed volume, pretty simple the way that I utilize it. I'll use a couple of fixed range volume profiles from the prior day. I'll use regular trading session hours, and I'll take value area high, volume point of control, value area low. I'll use a weekly fixed range volume profile. I'll take the same levels. And then past that, I have overnight high, overnight low, prior day high, prior day low. Bunch of objective levels. You guys can find them the exact same way that I do. Simple stuff. The volume profile sitting on the right-hand side, again, visible range. So it's dynamic. It moves as you scroll in and out. I like to use that as the session's forming. This is a 15-minute and a 1-minute side-by-side, just to give me a display of where a lot of transactions are taking place. I find it very powerful. Haven't been using it that long. I've been in the futures market for like a year. Before that, it was just Forex and crypto and stocks. Not a whole lot of reliable volume trading Forex and CFDs. But here in the futures market, we have that, and I find it presents really, really solid levels to trade to and from. As I'm watching this trade pull back, just to kind of talk it through, I'm not going to go stop loss to break even, not going to manage risk on this. I want to see us continue to the upside. The spot where my trade would be invalidated would be past that low, right to the downside. Can we sweep that and then just continue higher? Absolutely. And if we're going to see a big move out of the day, maybe that's what we get. But that's not my trade thesis on this one. It's a sweep of that level on news, buyer step back in, take us higher through VWAP and continue. Do we get that? We don't know. We're going to watch it play out live with you guys.
Would you cut it early?
For me, on this one, I won't. It's not playing out as I would like to see it, blasting to the upside, but I'm going to trust my stop on this one. Let it run. Again, half risk for me. I'm okay taking probably 2 to 3 trades around this $500 level, just personal. So that kind of gives you a reference to how much risk I'm putting on, right? I want to try this one early, wait to see what happens. If we sweep this low, stop me out for $492 across 3 accounts, I might look to take it long again. I would just watch to see if we start to sell off first. But again, I'm going to hold on to this one, see if we can't pop up towards that 65. Again, fixed take profit because I got up to talk to you guys. Usually it's not something I do, but in case we blast it higher, don't want to be out.
Are you ready for some fun? Evan's short.
I am short.
There we go. There we go.
Now we get it going. Who else is in the trade? Somebody admit it.
money.
Anybody else try to short it yet? The black shirt boys want to short it. Pass the HDMI to Evan.
And are you on ES or NQ? So he's long on ES. I am shorting the NASDAQ.
Dude, I'm about to buy Bitcoin. I don't know. Hedge. We're sharing dongles up here, everybody. Hold on.
Randy, I don't. And you guys we'll talk a little bit more about each of our individual trading. I keep my stuff pretty simple. A chart might seem a little bit complex to you guys. It's very simple. Basic, objective levels. There's 3 things on the chart: VWAP, volume profile, and volume down on the bottom. I'm mainly focusing on price action and market structure, volume, where I'm getting my levels from, and then Bookmap. That's kind of my combination. Discretionary, very simple discretionary, price action, market structure, volume, and order flow.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm short on NQ, and with the lower highs today, I just cannot fade that, even though I do think ES did look nice and bullish, and NQ might as well later on. But right now, I see a retest to this New York VWAP after the first breakup open range low. So I have to be in this. If it's going to sink lower, I need to be in it. And if it comes back up to the top of the range, I'll probably switch to a long bias in the next 30 minutes or so. But just riding structure underneath New York. This is on NQ again, where if you go to ES, a little bit more range bound, which is why I just didn't love either direction, because you could see can't get outside of this range. So I don't like either direction on that asset. But again, so I'm following NQ, which just looks a little cleaner, but could still see an ES.
I'm short
either
too.
Way.
I'm short with them.
Listen, I like it. I like the case here. A decision's going to be made, right? At least to go sweep highs and start to push higher, or to come back down through lows. So it's a decision-making point. We've chopped here quite a bit. I took it long before these guys jumping short. Coming through VWAP, we didn't get the continuation. For me and my data, I show cutting trades early, right at stop loss, aggressively managing. At least for this style, just doesn't pay me. So I'd rather just take the stop. But I can absolutely see us coming down through this low, going to check out the 20s, the 15s. There's not a ton on the book down there. About 94 orders at 20. That could want to get filled. again, we just basic price action market structure. Before we go higher, oftentimes we go lower, or we might not be going higher, right? We can come back down into that big pump and kind of just chop around up here as we've been doing this week. So let's see.
So with this trade, I'm really not going to manage it until we get a flush lower than I would get out of it for a win. But even if it takes on drawdown, I would just look to see how it reacts around that mid-range New York VWAP. So with this, it's just waiting.
Who else was in? Longs. Shorts and longs. Good. Fun range day. Who's flat? Just watching and learning. Okay. One thing that's really important to emphasize, in trading, we can have longs, shorts, and everyone can make money. Exactly. So it's all about trade management. It is not about your entry. You can be late, and if you've got good trade management, you're going to be okay. Can you watch my trade, brother? Because I don't know where I'm at. I know I'm short ES, not this.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Don't let me make more than 1,000 because I got the consistency rule.
You're up 90. You're all right.
Oh, okay, good. So for those of you, who here has a top 1 futures account? That's it. All right, good deal. Right now, if you want a top 1 futures account, they're running a promo. It's 55% off, and you get the instant payout add-on for free. Okay? So if you need an account, this is the platform you're seeing us trade on. No, it's not Top Step's platform, but I maybe heard from a little birdie that the guy that runs Top Step may also run this website. So take that for what it is when it comes to data and information. Okay, how are we feeling? Can we see ES?
So looking at this, still really choppy, really not getting continuation one way or the other.
Nope.
Would have liked to see this push and continue as we start to come through VWAP. I'm sitting right around break even on this. I see some on the book, about 125 at pretty close down below price, the 32s. If we start to come back through VWAP and get above these 50s, 55s, I like my trade. We continue down lower. We crack through the 30s. I really like your guys short for a sweep below session lows, potentially a little bit of a push lower here. So, again, decision-making point overall, pretty choppy. Like I talked about right before the open, something to be cautious of before big red folder news days. Oftentimes, we just get that VWAP chop. They can
100%.
It can be really difficult to trade. And as a guy who trades with some direction, that can be tough, right? I'm not trading directly off the bottom of this range or directly off the top, just completely fading the move, looking for a reversal. But again, I don't come into the day with bias and say, red folder news tomorrow, I'm not going to trade at all. Or no news Monday, right? I just feel you talk yourself out of way too many good trades and good trading opportunities. But I'm cautious. So maybe I take this first L. I go in for a second one, I take a second L, and I go, on another day, I'd probably keep trading, but I'm going to wrap it up here. Market's not agreeing with me.
Great
we are
point.
chopping. I'm going to wrap it up here and maybe just be a hair more cautious. That's kind of how I would let that influence my trading for the day.
Ev, before you go, I would just say Zach probably made the best point of the day so far right there. Also, on trades like this, where we know we're a little choppy, Christine and I talked about this last week, I think a big help to us as traders in a sideways market, does anyone know what I'm going to say? Wider stops, smaller positions. My stop on this trade is at high a day. So I can let this thing play around VWAP 4 times before it goes lower, and then I make money. Or, if it takes high a day, why would I want to be short? Now, what Evan's going to talk about is the 15-minute, right? And then that'll tie into what I just said.
Yeah, so on the push down prior to that, we had a close below the daily VWAP, lining up for those shorts. That's on this flush on the right. But trying to take that 15-minute view up again. So if this 15-minute candle could hold bullish, I would not be surprised if this is a higher low for the day, for the session, looking back at the yesterday, all that good stuff. So it wouldn't be totally surprised if it comes higher now that you've seen it try to hold this 15-minute. But until it's out of this range, I wouldn't physically take the long, especially since I am in the short. How's that looking? Coming up to the middle of its range.
Yep.
So we'll see how that can respect its New York. You could see NQ still below it. So I still like the shorts as long as we're holding underneath here. As long as we're holding this New York VWAP on NQ on the 1 minute.
How we feeling, everybody? Questions? Has anyone submitted a question on the QR code yet? Okay. I'd rather you get up and yell, but if you want to do the QR code, it's there. I like the interaction better. Why? Yeah.
don't want to cut you off. Listen, and because I stream live, right? I'm here with you guys. We're all watching me. Maybe take an L, maybe take a win. Here's what I think can help in that situation, because I empathize with it, right? The market's going to do, here's what I subscribe to first. No wrong way to think about it, but here's what I subscribe to. Kind of the Mark Douglas philosophy, right? We don't know what's going to happen next in the market, and we don't need to make money. We don't know on this next trade if Trump's going to tweet something, there's going to be a tariff comment, and it's going to, I don't even want to say it, and it's going to rocket one side or the other, right? We can't know with 100-degree certainty what's going to happen next. And if you can kind of allow that to sit with you and recognize you're not responsible for that next trade. We can tell what's going to happen in the long term. Patterns repeat themselves. There's a lot of consistency in the long term. But on the short term, the markets are very random. And that's the interesting paradox that we're faced with as traders. Like, of course, I want to hop on here, right? It's my day to trade live with you guys. I want to take the win. If I put that pressure on myself, first off, it doesn't make sense based on what I just said. And I'm not going to be able to operate objectively, right? I'm going to want to cut my trade early for a quick win and just say I won, right? I made $300 or whatever it is at right now. But if you can really reflect on the market being very, very random in the short term, it can start to take some of that pressure away. And I think you either learn that by reading and reflecting and journaling, or you get punished so many dang times that you finally recognize that that's the game that we're playing here. It's a game of probabilities in the long term. On the short term, the same way that a casino doesn't know the outcome of the next spin of roulette or the game of blackjack, we don't know what's going to happen on this next trade. We don't need to make money. So sit with that. Recognize you're going to take L's, random distribution of wins and losses. You're going to take L's, you're going to take wins. We all want to win today, right, while we're hanging out, and we want to talk about it at the bar after. But if you put that pressure on yourself, you're not going to execute well. You're not going to follow your plan.
You all saw the email where I said if you win the trade, you're buying drinks. Why are you laughing? Oh, God, that's smart. We're getting Randy drunk then.
I know I'm yapping a little bit here, guys, but I'm just going to talk about trade management here. I'm still sitting long on this one. $300 a profit, right? I have an opportunity to cap it here near the highs of this range. That's not a terrible play on a day like today, because if we're just going to chop, I stand to be taken out of this trade to the downside. I can manage it by going stop loss to break even. I don't think I'm asking for a lot out of the market to come up towards those 60s. I'm not going to hold it to the 65s, which I think it can go and tag, but I'm going to go for this next level right here, where, again, even if we're not really aggressively going to break out today, I think we can go and tag this, take everybody out that was getting short, maybe these guys, and then continue lower, So that's my play here. But again, just kind of talking through trade management, there's no, right or wrong way to do it. I'm exercising my discretion. This is how I do it consistently day in and day out to a degree. Is it going to work, again, to this comment today? Maybe not, right? But you apply some consistency in the market, you let the odds play out in your favor over a long enough time, and hopefully you make money, you take a payout.
Does anyone look at this and see a trade they missed so far today? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't use cumulative volume delta. I have it up on my chart as well. I have a very similar Bookmap layout, very simple. I don't use it as much as these guys and some other guys. Mine's at 10K right now and climbing. It does look strong. The way that I really utilize Bookmap is kind of how I'm discussing it. Very simple pattern recognition, just looking at levels, looking at areas of liquidity above and below price. Again, we don't know exactly, we know what those orders are, right? They're resting buy or sell orders above or below price. We don't know the intent. We don't know if they're going to get pulled off. We don't know how price is actually going to react when we get there. But my basic pattern recognition says if there's multiple large levels above price, and that's lining up because Bookmap is kind of third on the line from price action, market structure, and then key levels on that chart. If those levels are there on Bookmap, it's added confirmation to say, I think we're going to go fill them. What happens when we get there? Do we blast through? Somewhat out for debate, but if you watch, if you stare at the DOM long enough, and again, you can use just a traditional depth of market, you could use other tools outside of Bookmap. We love Bookmap here. I love Bookmap, but that's essentially how I'm utilizing it. So cumulative volume delta looks strong, right? It's making the case for the trade as well. Again, 65s, 295 on the book, kind of below all that algorithmic stuff is what I'm looking at. I can actually show you, I can show you guys Bookmap. There we go. Here's my Bookmap screen. A little bit busier than Austin's. I just run it like almost completely raw, basic standard settings. But here's what I'm looking at to the upside here. Almost 300 on the book at 265. That has stayed there the entire time. Here's the big stack of orders up above that we've been eyeballing, that right around that 5,700 level. So again, that's making the case for me. Now, it's not terribly thin today. We've got quite a bit above and below, not a massive amount, but that's making the case that maybe we go and tag 65s before we come back down lower. That's the potential here.
What I could say, too, for the shorts, with the Bookmap showing the 65 so clearly, it's a really good place if you are short to have a stop loss. Because like Zach said, once you get to that level, you'll get new information. You know what I'm saying? So when there's really hot levels on the Bookmap, those could be good levels to put a stop at, too. You don't have to think, oh, I have to trade into this level every time I see it. You know what I'm saying? Looks like we're going to push for you here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys something on Bookmap that's like a reason for concern or potentially, maybe looking to take profit. So right here, as Austin's speaking, we got orders that are coming on the book. 60s, there are a bit there, but you can see right here, 1022, we have sellers starting to step in. Now, that can be fuel to the fire. We can go and continue to gobble up liquidity to the upside, or that can be somebody starting to get involved, institution, whatever. Again, I take the very dumb guy pattern recognition way, but if I start to see orders above price light up on the book, maybe get added to, that can act as resistance. It can be sellers stepping in, outweighing buyers, and start to send price lower. So that, to me, could be an area of caution to say, hey, you know what, if I'm going to snag profit on this, maybe right up into these levels that are right here. 65 is right there as well, but I'm okay grabbing some profit on this one and looking for the next trade. So we'll watch how this one plays out.
Yeah, so finally getting a new high day on the 1 minute at least here on ES. That's pretty much going to kill the short idea, which is good. Because then now that we're breaking out of this opening range, like I said, we're 50 minutes into the day. We're really getting like a new high a day as Zach gets out of his trade.
Yeah, I'm grabbing that one right here. I'm sorry, Evan. I'm going to show you guys why. Yeah, no, it's all good, guys. Listen, if you watch me trade long enough, you watch me take plenty of L's, like we talked about. I try not to get too excited when I take a win, too excited when I take a loss, because I just don't know what's going to happen next, right? You stay calm, you keep trading. So, again, I took it right here. I know I got a fixed take profit in there. I typically don't. This one to the upside looks good to me to 65, right? And if I really wanted to hang on to a trade today, 65 I think would be the level past overnight high that I'd be looking at. But as we start to come into orders right here, we see volume traded. On another day, if you watch Bookmap long enough, we see a gnarly rejection here. We see orders start to stack up, we see volume fill, and we start to sell off pretty harshly. We don't just continue to the upside. So, I'm in a profitable trade. I'm past, right around that 1-to-1, whatever it is. I'm happy to grab that. I typically don't go for a huge R multiple. And again, discretionary with trade management, right? If my thesis is we're going to break and run to the upside, I'm going to hang on to that one, right? I'm going to go stop loss where it is, entries in the middle of the zone. I'm going to run that bad boy to the upside. I'd rather grab profit here and say, hey, you know what? If this does turn into a choppy day, I got in, got out, got paid. If it turns into a big runner, maybe I wait for some structure, wait for a pullback, look to, jump back into a follow-up trade. So any questions? Yes, go right ahead, brother. So I've gone back and forth a lot with trade management, right? And I think what a solid way to decide on how you should be managing your trades is to experiment on the front end, track the data really well, use TradeZella, use something to track the data, and take a look at what's working, as simple as this is, and do a little bit more of what's working, a little bit less of what's not. For me, personally, full in, full out seems to work best. If I do scale, it's usually to add right around or just adjust the initial position size. And what I actually did on this one, I jumped in with 5. I quickly added. It was a little bit above the risk that I wanted on this trade, just considering where we were, and I backed it off just a hair to 7 micros. But it's a powerful move to go stop loss to break even, to scale out, to leave a runner. For me, it's just not my forte. It's just not what my data shows works really well. And, just building off that, like another example, going stop loss to break even on that trade specifically, I would have been stopped right here, right? I would have been stopped right here. My stop loss was down here. I would be out for break even. And I'd probably be pretty pissed watching the market move in my direction to a take profit. For me, my data shows that I shouldn't go stop loss to break even. More often than not, trades that come back to my entry based on my specific style, which is going to be different for everybody, continue in my direction. They don't continue all the way to stop loss. Will there be plenty out of a 100 trade sample size? Absolutely. I'll get my stop run where I could have stopped at break even. But in the long run, what's best for my P&L? Primarily not going stop loss to break even arbitrarily, that type of a deal. And again, that just comes from looking at basic data, just reviewing my data. I mean, I live trade, so I can literally go back and watch myself, do what I do, make mistakes. But track your data and just do a little bit more of what's working, a little bit, less of what's not. And I would experiment with different trade management styles. I would experiment with adjusting risk, with maybe potentially adding to winners. I don't know that I experiment with adding to losers, averaging down. But scaling out, leaving runners, going stop loss to break even and leaving, a partial, absolutely, right? And we might see that pay really nicely for me on this trade today, but just let your data tell that story. Data doesn't lie, right? Everybody else can lie. Data's not going to lie to you. I do it stupidly simple, Thomas. Very, very simple. Literally, it'll just be either a screenshot of a position tool. Well, I will say I trade live all damn day, so I have a nice recording of all of my sessions, which can be pretty painful to watch when you make a mistake, but helpful, right? Because you watch your face on the thing. I'm like, oh, God, I know I'm making the wrong move right here. But for me, it's as simple as screenshot with a position tool and a couple notes. Why I got into the trade, why I did what I did, position sizing, and then the result, letting the market play out after. You can just look at executions as well. You can throw executions on the chart. But again, explain what you did, how you were feeling, and why. I know Austin's got a comment. Building off that, I like to journal, just kind of that hippie way of before how I'm feeling, after a good session, after a bad session. But the data will show you as you're tracking it, if you're exiting, right, at a certain point and it continues to run in your direction like this one did, and that happens on, 8 out of 10 trades and the other 2, pull back, I should probably be holding trades longer, right? It's very simple that way.
So the manufacturing PMI that came out on Financial Juice this morning, actual is 48.7, forecast was 47.9. So if you read the following headline, if you pull up Financial Juice, you'll see what I'm looking at. It says U.S. ISM factory production gauge drops to the lowest since May of 2020. So why is the market moving up on that news? Come on, people. Thank you. Dude, brains over there. What would the Fed do if we get bad economic numbers? Cut rates. And what will rate cuts do to the economy and the stock market? Rip it. So that's why sometimes on negative news, the market goes up, because the market has levels of thinking. The market can perceive information and not just go, bad number, go down. You know what I'm saying? It don't work like that. Bad number, well, what's going to happen? What's the monetary policy people going to step in and do or say? See what I'm saying? That just came out the other day. Yeah. So what is that going to do for the market? It's feeding a bullish move. Yep. And that's why you have to follow the news, because then one, like we said earlier today, one bearish headline sends the market lower and you go, what happened? I didn't see that coming. I thought we were getting cuts. Great trade, Zach. Really good trade. Who else made money on the longs? Hands up. Fuck yeah.
There we go.
Who made money on the shorts? Who lost money on the shorts? Good. Small losses are good.
Yeah, this still looks good long, right? Just, again, I know we're doing a lot of Bookmap today. We got the session coming up. I don't use this primarily. I don't want to, deceive you guys here. This still looks good long. We got some stuff to talk about. We don't always. Sometimes Bookmap's just nothing. 65s looks good to the upside. And again, if we are going to push, there's liquidity to the upside to the 5700s. Do we go and fill these? It's like any other tool. Market can do whatever it wants to do. It's not consistent, with 100% certainty or even close to it day in and day out. But it does look good to the upside. We're testing, let me get this out of the way. We're testing this overnight high level. Again, one of the couple objective levels that I use. If we start to break and close above this with some strength, I could see the movement. And maybe this is the sweep, back down to prior day high, buyer stepping in. I'm still cautious that we could chop today. I'm still cautious that we could turn and really have that break of, initial balance high, initial balance low before that NFP. It's just so often what we see. And so for those reasons, I would be cautious holding long, but, buyer's still showing we want to take this thing higher up until right now when I'm speaking.
I'll take the dongle for a second. I just want to show the book map here. 65 just peeled off the book for me.
again, as he's getting set up, this is real-time liquidity. Like he was talking about, anything can happen, and it's why you got to be cautious as you're using it.
Come on, baby, come back. Come on. I'm trying to show the book map. There we go. Cool. So if you take a look right there where my cursor is, you see that? See how it goes from bright red? Interesting. Got it? Okay. Right there. You see how it goes from red to yellow? Yes? Red to yellow? Yes? I know it's subtle right here. 1031, yeah? That's thinning of those orders at 56.65. See? Bright red to orange and blue and white. It's thinning. Those orders that were there are now coming off. Something's changing, like Zach said. Does that mean that it wants to not go there? Maybe. Does that mean that maybe there was an algo, like we showed earlier, that was holding orders there, and it's now pulled those orders off? I think so. But I think the big tell today, so far this morning, we're going to talk about Delta in a second too, is that CVD. If we zoom out all the way to 9:30, there's 9:45. What's the Delta direction since market open, basically? Up. So shorts were tougher because you're fighting the volume. You're fighting the direction of who's in control, buyers or sellers. Questions about the Delta? Okay. Do we need a break, friends? We okay? At any time, just get up and go. No one will be offended. Get a coffee, soda. Bathrooms are close. But let's stay locked in here and see how we go. When you see Delta get this high, 9,000 this early in the day by 10:30, Zach, what do you feel that would tell you? I know you don't use it a lot, but does that give you an instinct of like, it's going to be tough to sell this thing today?
Yeah. Again, a couple of guys asked about it. I've been watching it more, right? I try to like make real small adaptations as I add to my trading. I've been watching it more. I hear a lot of guys talk about it. As it's continuing to grow and price is rising, it's telling you that buyers are outweighing sellers, right? In volume, they are taking this thing higher on volume. It becomes very difficult to start to sell it. If we came up to that high and we really started to see CVD drop off pretty aggressively and then, now really come lower, that could make the case for a short off of this, but I would be really cautious. I'd really be cautious short on this unless you're that reversal trader, right? If you're trading from the extremes back to VWAP, back and forth, and that's your play every day, you got a beautiful way to structure risk, nice cheap trades that you could take. But as far as directionally, first, I don't think we have it yet, although we are trying the highs. But yeah, that CVD is staying strong, really strong, even as we're pulling
Even
back.
right now. Yeah, I was just going to say 8,700. Great question. I don't know that answer. But I know that number goes negative and it turns red when sellers are taking control. When there's... Exactly. I was taught, maybe Nick behind you has different input on this. I was taught 2,500, positive or negative, is where we start to find trend. When you're 3,000, 4,000, green or red, you're starting to get an idea of where you're going to go. Nick, do you have a different opinion on that? 10,000. That's cool. Yeah. A higher time frame, right.
I just want to say real quick on the short we took, or some of us took earlier, I'd say like the silver lining about taking these trades in the range during the opening range is normally there's plenty of time left in the day, but even just the more information that we get, I try a feeler position in the morning. If we lose, there's still plenty of time to just receive more information. That's all that pullback and the new high a day really is, of saying, okay, buyers took us for a new high a day. At the time of my trade, we were still stuck in that range. My best trades are now going to come outside of it. So now it's really just, okay, I have more information to have almost a better trade, right? I took a trade mid-range. It's not the worst trade, but we took an L on that. But now I just feel more comfortable taking a single direction. Okay, buyers took for a new high a day. This probably wants to go higher now. Where in the beginning on this short on NQ, I'm kind of not hoping, but I'm predicting where we're going to end up. Rather than seeing where we want to go, and I'll just react and try to find that next leg of it, right? If you see NQ here makes the new high, well, then let me look for the next high after a small pullback, and that'll be this play right here. Anyone take a long in a couple last couple minutes here on ES or NQ? Since Zach got out of his.
Yeah, again, if we're going to break, guys, we're coming right up to that 65. We just swept highs again. We're putting highs of the session in. If we're going to break and start to move now, you've got a way to get in before that starts to happen. Again, you would now be looking for an extension, a nice bullish day to the upside, maybe heading towards that 5,700. So, you are really looking to trade this directionally, not from maybe the middle of consolidation to the extreme the way I did with a stop all the way below session. But this is strong. Buyers are stepping in. We didn't even retest VWAP on that pullback. We're cracking above overnight high. But I'll let Tanner take this one.
Go to the 3 minute. Yo, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Way louder. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of like how I like to look at trading. I'm big on levels, and I look at like hierarchies of stuff. So I know I talk about VWAP a lot, but I actually look at levels first. Levels is like my first thing, and then VWAP. Everything's reference points, right? Like we want to look at hierarchy of like what makes sense to our system. In my system, I look at levels first, then use VWAP as a reference. So in the opening range initially, there's not enough clarity. And one thing I like to tell everyone is clarity of price comes with time. Meaning like the more patient you are, it kind of gets clear, but everyone wants to be gunslingers off the open. And I'm also a victim of this, so I'm not perfect. But what I caught this morning, I hit a max win on one of my top 1 accounts, and I had a simple magic line on the chart. And that level was 19,900. And with levels, they're not perfect, meaning like you're going to get sweeps below. They're never just going to like touch instantly and just like perfectly bounce. But when you see reactions off the level, that is how I like to look at price. And one of my favorite analogies is the concept of risk. And the analogy is, in trading, we're going to fall. You're going to take, you're going to take losses. You're going to get hurt. So when you fall, wouldn't you rather fall off the sidewalk and scrape your knee if you're wrong versus fall out of the skyscraper window? And when I say that, I mean structure, right? Like trading with structure. Breakout trades, I hate to break it to you, they don't work that well on the index. Like NQ, ES, all these indices are super efficient markets, meaning the breakouts, the breakdowns, they will work here and there, but you are more than likely gonna get stuffed. That's why liquidity works. That's why we see sweeps, right, all the time. Little sweep, boom, wrecked. Sweep, boom, wrecked. And that'll happen over and over and over and over. So looking at the reactions down here, I personally have a lower hit rate because I will attempt this a few times. And I'll get scratched, I'll get scratched, I'll get scratched. But when I'm right, I'll make 3R, 4R on the trade. And so it will make up for those haircuts. So that's kind of what I was looking at this morning. I did attempt this initially. So I caught the short through VWAP, and then here I tried it a couple times. I got stopped, and then finally on this one, caught the long, put in my stop here, and just basically wrote it back to range highs. Does that make sense? So Sidewalk, Skyscraper. That's like the biggest takeaway I can give you guys from my trade today. Yes. Good question. So I generally trade MNQ. Sometimes I will trade NQ. It just depends. But what I do love about that whole like Sidewalk, Skyscraper analogy is if I'm long here on like a reclaim, maybe even before the bar closes, I can have a 15-point stop, right? 20-point stop. I'm risking, let's say, one NQ contract, $400, 20 points. So I can do that, but if I make 3R on the trade, I make 1,200. So position size, I mean, it varies for everyone. It depends what you're comfortable with, what you like. I don't really like to go more than one full-size NQ or 10 micros on a 150K straight funded account because, again, it's just like it's a numbers game at the end of the day. Like, I have gone aggressive before, especially trading Asia. You can, 15 full-size NQ. Yeah, you guys saw that reel. But yeah, that's like also the number one killer in the prop game. Like the more you try to trade with size, be really aggressive. I've had some students that are like, oh yeah, I get long 5 NQs off this level. I have a 6-point stop. I'm like, a 6-point stop? Like that's gonna be in the blink of an eye. It's like, so give it, he said it earlier, like give the trade a little bit of room to breathe. But at the same time, if I'm long here with a really tight stop, I don't mind taking haircut, and then be like, okay, once I'm right though, I'm gonna make 3 to 4R. So that's my trade.
Yeah, so as we look at NQ here, this is on the 3-minute, which I don't look at, but 1 minute, how's that looking here? Like we said, we got the new high day giving us new information. Okay, buyers were able to take that control. And I said it earlier, I guess we can go against my own trade. We didn't get outside this opening range. That's where my best trades are going to come, especially when we open up the day choppy. Then you really got to get outside this range to show me there's some trend setting in. Well, it wasn't to the downside, it was to the upside. So there's the break for a new high day saying buyers can take control out of this range. And then we just want to not just chase it right then and there, but then you want to lean into that structure and say, okay, there's our higher high. If I can get a higher low, I'd like to continue this trend back higher. Ideally, we would have came a little bit deeper, but I know many people will trade it off this opening range high level. And I mean, at this time, yeah, initial balance is probably also around here, which we'll talk about later on in the days. But anyone's still long, I think it's just continuing the close back above that 15-minute, like we were saying, right? Would not be surprised heading into the open. Yes, easy to zoom in since the 9:30, but I think we just zoom out on the 15-minute. It's still just a higher low from yesterday and even just overnight, right? Because it's a new low a day from all this pre-market noise. But I don't even take that into consideration. It's just zooming out into the big picture from yesterday into today. Sellers have not taken control. It's just been a small little pullback, and now the buyers are back in to continue what they did all yesterday afternoon. So nice longs today, probably 5,700. We can mark that on our charts way up there. See if we get there the next 2 hours.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, man, feel free to ask. Hands up is cool. But building off of Tanner's, comments there, and somebody asked about trade management, how do you manage risk? I think it's a really good point, right? We are talking about, technical analysis here. We're looking for entries. We're looking for direction. But oftentimes, risk management, trade frequency is kind of second to all that. And I think you really need to pre-plan it. And what Tanner did great this morning is exactly what he described. He structured his risk low enough where he was able to run tight stops, take multiple losses, keep himself cool and collected, and then finally catch the win that he was aiming for. Does that happen every day? No. But if you come in hot and heavy on trade number 1, take the loss, and then trade number 2, take the L and DLL, you watch the trade eventually play out in your favor. So think about how many trades, just for trade management, risk management, how many trades do you want to allow yourself per day, right? What is your style? Are you going to be waiting for the 15-minute chart to set up and take one trade? Put risk on, right? Your DLLs might be that one day, that one trade. Are you going to be like Tanner, structure your trades in a way where you're able to take multiple losses and then finally get the move that you're looking for while controlling risk to the downside and taking these small haircuts? So really solid trade management, solid execution. Lawrence. Mm-hmm. It's a great question. I'll just go after this one for sure. I'd agree with you on the front end. I think it was somewhat of a leading question, which is a solid leading question and a good thing to talk about. We do have mental capital, right? We are only able to make so many good trading decisions per day, especially as a beginner. So I do think it makes sense to temper that style as a beginner and say, I might not be able to handle taking 1, 2, 3 losses like Tanner did today before I catch that winner. I just won't be able to execute well. I won't be able to actually manage the trade when the winner finally comes. What often happens, what I've seen guys that I've worked with, they can't hold that winner. They finally get back to break even, they close out. How many times? Everybody's done that before, I'm sure. Or they can't realize the full profit. So I think it's a good idea. How do you measure that? Track your data, and I think if you watch your trading performance deteriorate throughout the day, it's certainly a leading indicator to say, I got to back off. I'm going to be a 1-2 trade a day guy until I start to grab some consistency here. But I think starting with 1 trade a session could be a good idea. I like 2 because it doesn't put as much pressure on that first one for like a complete beginner. But I do agree with you. I'd be cautious about allowing yourself way too much trade frequency. Most guys trade too big and too frequently. That's almost everybody that I see is trading too large, that's inconsistent, and too frequently. And you have to deal with that deterioration of that psychology, that capacity to make good trading decisions. So great question. Track your data. If you're watching yourself fall off, you're giving back profit into the day. And again, this is just the simple doing a little bit more of what's working, a little bit less of what's not. If you're watching that, you got to make the conscious decision. You know, don't have an ego, be real with yourself and say, I can't keep trading. I get 2 trades, that third one's always an L. The percent of that last trade after 2 or 3 or 4 drops off consistently. Stop doing that. Your data is showing you what to do and what not to do. You're not here to trade and have fun. We're here to make money, right? That's the deal. So great question.
To follow up on that. So trading is, Austin said this in like one of his pods. I forget who it was. Someone on your pod said this. But like trading's all about the concept of self-regulation. Meaning like you're going to go through ebbs and flows of emotions. And this really stuck with me too. When I go to like trading conferences all the time, and I went to one last year, and Lance Brightstein, I'm sure a lot of you guys know them, he's great, one of the greatest traders. Lance, I asked him, I was like, hey, as a 15-year plus trader, you've been trading for 15 years, I was like, how do you handle losses now on the day-to-day? Do you still feel them? Like, does that pain ever go away, right? It's like, especially like, you know, when you screw up, you have a day where you're just like, damn, I hit max loss, or I had like a really bad red day. Like, I'm sure it's happened to all of you. The rest of your day is like a heavy cloud above, and it takes like a minute to get out of that. And so I was like, does that ever go away? And he's like, honestly, it never fully goes away. You just learn how to turn the volume down on it. But it just takes so much practice and time. So like, to back on your question, I think like you can do things like recording yourself, you know, like recording myself has helped a lot. Me and you kind of streaming, hopping on streams with people, talking it out. Because if you're sitting there just like by yourself, like a little junkie, in the middle of your floor, looking up at the sky, you're like, I just took 78 trades, what's going on? That did happen to me one time in all of this. So, like, the concept of self-regulation is something we just have to practice and practice and practice and practice. And so all the time, like, I talk to myself when I'm trading all the time out loud. Like, I live alone, but if I had like roommates, I had been trading when I had roommates and stuff, and they would, like, I'd walk downstairs some days and they'd be like, yo, you good? And I'm like, don't talk to me right now, you know, like, rough day. But that concept of self-regulation, like, talk to yourself and be like, oh, like, all the time I'm like, Tanner, you're getting frustrated, bro, you're getting frustrated. And so like, I'll really stand up and like walk away for a second. But like, you gotta do that, because otherwise you just sit there, and I always call it like, you're in the vortex, where you're just literally just like glued to this, you're locked in, you're glued. You know, your house could be on fire, and you're like, I don't care, I'm long right now. This has to go to target. Like, you know, like, so that concept of self-regulation is super important. The last thing I want to add here is on like my style of trading and how like I can stomach those little haircuts and losses. You either have, it's one of two things in the trading space. Unless you're really, really good, you can do the third, but these I think are like the masters. You either have a high hit rate and a low R multiple, meaning like you win 80% of your trades, 70% of your trades, whatever it is, but maybe your risk reward is only like 1 to 1, right? Maybe 1.2 to 1. Or you have a low hit rate where it's like, you know, 35%, 40%, which is like roughly around where mine is, but my R multiple is 2.5, 3. So it's like, that's what I can stomach those losses and be like, well, I know once I hit my really big winner, like, it'll make up for it. Because I can also hold it too. Like, once the trade starts working and going in my favor, I'm like, I can hold it and do it, but that takes practice and just takes time. So that's all I wanted to add.
Is Joey here? You want to come talk about your trade? Can I get a P&L shout out from everybody that's traded? Just yell out your P&L. Beautiful. Isaac, yeah, come. I didn't see you sitting back here. Come up. Who else? Okay. 1,000. Who else? Not bad. I just want to know who's buying drinks. Boys, get down your mics for a second. Yeah. Yes. Zach definitely has a
600, 600 times 3 for me.
What do you need? What asset? Ev, can you take care of that? Yeah. Hold it close. You might be off too. Up.
Check, mic
There
check.
you go.
There we go. Perfect. So my trade is I actually took a long. You guys can see we had a big sweep of liquidity over here. I'm very big on Asia levels, London levels, looking at Asia lows, Asia highs, London lows, London highs. NQ is notorious for sweeping levels, right? NQ is like that crazy X that just is very crazy.
No one knows what you're talking about, Joey.
And you guys
Never.
can see it right here, right? You can see that we get that sweep of liquidity. You can see that once we did get the sweep, look what happens. NASDAQ does this all the time, and this has been one of my very consistent strategies. London highs, same thing. We sweep London highs. Now, we've already done that. Up here, we're kind of consolidating. Whether we come back down, today is very bullish right now, but whether we come back down or not, who knows? But right now, my one key trade was that sweep and that ride back up to get up 2K on the day. And so that's been the trade so far.
What's the way out of that? Yeah, come on, clap louder than that. That was a good trade. What's the way out, Joey? Let's talk about just your risk on it. Like, how would you get out of it, and why was your stop where it was?
Yeah, so I'm very big on see profit, take profit, right? I'm very much a scale in and scale out type of guy. Sometimes I will go all in and all out. But if I do get setups like this where it is an A+ setup, I maybe throw on 3-4 contracts. But once I get into profit, I very much want to lock some of that in, right? I don't, because like I said, the NASDAQ can go up, down, it's very crazy. It can move very sporadic. And so I will do my best to lock in profits the best I can and then allow runners to run. If that means if I'm in 4 contracts, I scale out 2, take my last 2 to break even. I'm okay if that comes back down and stops me out for break even because I've already locked in some gains. So I'm good. Stop below the lows, take us up, scale out a little bit, allow runners to run.
I love it. Okay, now let's compare it to Isaac. Thanks, Joey. Go ahead, buddy. What were you trading?
What do you think?
Gold.
No, right? Trading money. No, I only trade the S&P. What's this? Oh, a little pointer.
That's
How
a
do I
little
work
pointer,
this? How do I
yeah.
work this? Huh?
You got it. You got it.
Button. There we go.
Boom.
All right. Good morning, guys. I'm Isaac. For those of you
Hold
guys
that
who
thing
don't
real
know.
close.
Real
Down the throat,
like
preferably.
an MC. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So I'm gonna make this very, very short and sweet because I'm presenting at 3 p.m. and we're gonna be going over all this stuff. So you guys might be like, "What in the world is he talking about?" So, firstly, I saw an opportunity to take this trade 2 times prior to taking it, but I stood out. Why? Why did I stay out of the market? Why too early? News, right? Always checking the econ calendar. So you can see right here around 10 o'clock is when we had this little blip down and an aggressive blip up, right? So I was looking to take this long closer to the open, right around here, which there was a good opportunity. However, you see this big pullback. I would have gotten trailed out, stopped out, get a small profit, right? Or if I didn't trail, right, then there was an opportunity to get a full move here. However, it was getting way too close to that news release. So I waited for it to come out, let the algos do their thing, right? We had the pullback here, and then we found support again, obviously at that same level. The only reason why we broke down in this direction was because of that number coming out. So for that reason, you can be right and tight, you could be right and too early, right? So getting into the long here, and let's just say if I wasn't, everybody that knows the way I trade know that I always trail my stops, right? But if I hadn't, right, and let's just say I had like an 8-point stop or a 10-point stop, I could have been in the money and then almost flat, and then in the money again, and then flat, and then actually stopped out and took a loss. Patience. I spell patience with a Y in between, like patience. The more patient you are, the better you'll be paid every single time. So there's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another setup. It presented itself again. I jumped in. $2,000. How many contracts do you guys think that I used to make $2,000? 2. That's it. 2 contracts, S&P, painless. Once you get in virtually no red, okay, and I didn't even take the whole move, okay? But I did. I did the 4.5 point, then I did a 7.5 point, and then I caught a little bit, 10 points. So, and it did. You came up, and I think I got stopped out either here or here. I don't remember, right? But it's irrelevant. So, but why did I want to get long here? It was the point of quantitative extreme to the downside. And if you guys don't know what that means, that's okay, because that's what I'm going to be going over later. So we were at the point of QE. That's why you could see lots of support here going into the open, right? What moving average is this, guys? I'm asking them. That's
It's a VWAP
line. See, I don't use VWAP. See how clueless I am? I don't use VWAP at all. But what happened was we were at the point of quantitative extreme. The market gets a little scared here, right? There was even a little rip current, right? If you imagine yourself like in a pool or in the beach, rather, a little rip current here could have killed you, but it didn't. Ultimately, we ran back to mommy, right? Or we reverted back to the mean, and then actually crossed over that, retested it, and continued to the opposite quantitative extreme. So we're going to talk about this later in much greater detail. And funny enough, you'll see in my presentation that I updated, you'll see all the opportunities that have already presented themselves with my strategy from the opening bell till this very moment right now. So.
Love it. Love it.